One tie that binds us. I choose love. Sit back in your seat, your chair, and relax. Just take a breath and let the morning's buzz or chaos, perhaps frantic energy to get into the call, the video, the questioning of how things will go. Let it drop gently away. I choose love. Feel a tingling in your hands, perhaps, whether they're warm or cold. Feel your seat on the chair and your feet on the floor. Begin to feel yourself more connected to your body. Begin to notice your breath again. I choose love. Begin to feel the center of your awareness in your head, perhaps. And just let it begin to drop through your face, your jaw, your neck, and your shoulders. Just feel that energy beginning to run down you through your arms, through your torso, your back. Feel that center of energy dropping down through your center of gravity, your chi, your hara, your abdomen. Down through your seat into the chair and your legs. Feel that center of energy running down through your calves and shins, through your feet and down into the floor. Begin to feel yourself both connected to yourself, to each other person on this call, to each other person in our ministry and congregation, whether present or not. And send out your love to each one of them. To each congregation meeting right now in Vancouver and around the world. And feel their radiance coming back to you. Feel their love coming back to you. And in a few moments of stillness and silence, feel that wellspring of life inside of you as you choose love. Be aware of your breath once more. And as you listen to the sound of my voice, begin to feel yourself coming back into the room. Begin to feel yourself being connected to your body again. The sounds around you, tingling of your fingers or hands. Your eyes beginning to open, your feet touching the floor. Feel yourself beginning to open your body, your mind, your heart, your eyes, your breath. Come fully back into the room. Feel yourself pleasantly calmed, relaxed, and connected. Thank you, Carl, for that beautiful music. And for those who may be joining by phone, I'll also describe the videos. So this talk is about life turned upside down. And isn't that the truth? How far we've come in 1 month. On March 1st, many of us were gathered in the Elks Hall in White Rock. I was standing in front of you talking about what will you give up for Lent? Little did we have any idea. I'm not sure who it was that prayed for all this, but whoever was giving up all this for Lent, you got what you're looking for. It's been an amazing time. We thought back then that coronavirus was only this small thing that was happening in China or perhaps South Korea with a few people in other countries. And then over the last month, we saw it grow and grow and grow to the point where it feels like it's all but taken over our world. All that in a month. It feels like our very planet has been turned upside down. So how has that left you feeling? Start to go inside and just begin to reflect on some of your feelings. I like to use this little critter with his hands over his head going, oh my God, what am I going through? What's just happened? Or maybe this little mouse who's seen better times say, why, yes, I'm a bit stressed. Why do you ask? So how are you feeling right now, really? Begin to tune into the thoughts about what you'd planned to do for March that's been swept away. About the life that you're living that's now not as connected to some of the people that you'd like to be present to. Think of all the news that you've been seeing. How has it affected you? How has it affected your job, your ability to shop, your ability to visit elderly relatives or young friends? How are you doing? Take a moment as you reflect on those things and just breathe. Let it in a little bit more so you can be present to all of you, what's going on inside of you. This event has literally been the biggest disruption of our lifetime. The only parallel, talking to my 88-year-old mother, is World War II. That had greater ramifications in some areas, but this one has moved into all of our households. And a disruption like that is going to shake us. If it doesn't, we're not human or feeling connected. But I'd also like you to think about another time of disruption. It's one that will be very familiar to you this morning. It's the week leading up to Easter. So on this day, Palm Sunday, as we've heard before, Jesus entered Jerusalem to hosannas, to throngs of people shouting out praise and waving palm branches. And they knew that the Messiah, the Savior of Israel from the Romans, from hardship, had come. It was a triumphant day. But it's a day that begat a week. And we all know what Jesus goes through in the next 7 days. Through being called out, trials, judgment, persecution, punishment, and death. We know about Jesus' story, but think for a moment of what his followers must have gone through. We don't talk too often about them. The expectations they had of victory of this Palm Sunday, all the expectations turned into their experiences of deep loss. Deep loss. Their feelings, their bewilderment and chaos. Think about what they must have gone through. Their heartache, their despair, and their grief. Now, what about what people are experiencing and perhaps feeling about life right now? Let's come back from that week 2,000 years ago to the present. What might people be feeling? Think of somebody in your life who might be feeling challenged. Somebody you've seen in the news who's going a bit crazy. Think of neighbors or elderly people in seniors' residences. Pick someone in your life that you've seen or heard of or even comes to mind. Picture them. And for a moment, send them love. We choose love not just for ourselves, but for each other. Send it out to them. Send out as well the thought of release. I choose the highest in you, and I send you the release of the divine. And send out a miracle. Whatever that might mean to you, send it out from your heart to them so that they might feel it and know that they are not alone. In the Easter story, life was also turned upside down with the trial of Jesus that's also pictured on our screen, with the carrying of the cross to the crucifixion. But here's the key. We weren't left there in that Easter story. This week, life triumphs over loss and death. And this picture of Jesus, after coming out of the tomb, standing behind Mary, grieving at the tomb. This is the triumph of life over loss and death that Jesus demonstrated at the end of this week. In A Course in Miracles, Jesus says, this week is about celebrating life, not death. We often in Holy Week think of Good Friday. The crucifixion as the primary day of focus. Jesus died on the cross for our sins has been the legacy of our memory. But how often do we focus on what that was really about? It was to demonstrate that even though he went through death, he came back to life, because nothing is more powerful than true life. In Course in Miracles, he also says, I was given awareness that I would be resurrected, going into Jerusalem that day. That's why he could have confidence going through the full week into new life. Many of us have difficulty with the idea of miracles, and I'm included in that, especially the ones Jesus performed. And it's said that he performed over 30 of them. But let's consider a definition of a miracle by Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science, and who was a seminal teacher of Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, founders of Unity. She described it this way: a miracle is that which is divinely natural, but must be learned humanly. And that's what Jesus was about. He knew his divinity, but he knew the challenge we have of learning miracles humanly. Those ones are pretty big miracles. So let's start with a few of the smaller miracles, like what's happening in our world today. Now, some of you might go, huh, what are you, crazy? There's only craziness going on around us today. But let's look at our response to the coronavirus. And here's what I mean by that. There's been a healthcare response with people like Dr. Anthony Fauci. You may have seen his picture in the news many times, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. He has been a global leader in bringing the science and the need to save lives as being the primary thing we need to focus on. Dr. Bonnie Henry, the medical officer of health for BC, the medical officers of health of every province of Canada, of every state, of every country. These healthcare experts have been our leaders and have pushed us in the last month to make rapid and incredible changes to our lives. There's been the government response. Think of the New York State government that said, we're going to put all of New York State on pause. Governor Cuomo directing all non-essential workers to work from home. Think of a state of 20 million people where it's put on pause, let alone New York City. Or the state of California with 40 million people, and the governor there said, stay at home. This has been an incredibly courageous act by so many leaders, city, state, province, national, international, to change our entire lives and our economy. And the government response as well of overcoming differences. You think of one of the pillars of our last decade in politics has been blue versus red, left versus right. Never the twain shall meet, and no cooperation in so many areas. Yet the overcoming of differences to create financial support programs, Canada and the US, various parts of the world, of trillions of dollars. That's a response. That's incredible. Now think about the human response, the public response. People like these testers in an airport in Italy, in Milan, or these healthcare workers in Tonga taking care of the ill. The incredible courage of stepping into the fire, so to speak, going towards the virus, not away from it. Think of the retail workers and all of the people creating the products to ship to our grocery stores that we still have access to. The retail workers showing up every day, even though they're right in the line of everybody else and the virus. Think of auto workers like this man, Ford Detroit. Ford 3M and GE General Electric combined to turn over Ford's auto plant into making respirators, ventilators, and protective face masks. That's a response. Think about people like cooks. This is a group called World Central Kitchen, and they also have something called #Chefs for America. They are going out and feeding restaurant workers who have been put out of work, and they're feeding homeless and people in communities across the United States. And this woman with a cello on her porch, an 80-something-year-old woman in Maryland who loves the cello and goes out each day to play for her neighbors, to bring them calm and solace and her love. And this scene from my balcony last night, people out on the balcony in Vancouver, that's the one in my building, making sounds like this. Clapping, cheering, sounding gongs, beats, guitars, clapping for healthcare workers, but also to be connected to each other. The solidarity of humanity coming out in our own very real ways and saying, I'm still here and I don't choose to let coronavirus or this time defeat me. Think of all the ways that people are responding, and this has all happened in just over a month. For me, these are like miracles compared to the world that we knew a month ago or 2 months ago. So how do we connect these events of today with Holy Week 2,000 years ago? Well, I believe that Jesus was training the people of his time to open themselves up to the idea and experience of miracles. The power within all of us to literally transform our physical world. On the screen now, there's pictures of famous artists' paintings, a man blind being healed by Jesus, Jesus stilling the waters of the Sea of Galilee, Jesus feeding people with the loaves and fishes, the 5,000. Again, 3 of many miracles. He was teaching the people of his time of a higher possibility. And that's what I believe we're about today. We believe sometimes that it was only Jesus that could do these things. But is it perhaps that these are also for us to do? It's been a question over the centuries and the millennia. What if we were to use this time, as Pixie talked about, to demonstrate these small and large miracles too? To take that idea from the daily word with joy and love and faith, I celebrate my growing Christ awareness. And as that awareness grows in me, the power to create miracles grows in me as well. What if we use this time for transformation, for waking up, for living into, as James Dillard Freeman said in what Desiree read, living into what we all might be. I believe that Jesus is inviting us to enter a new land, not just a physical land, but a state of consciousness, the land of the miraculous. I think the coronavirus is in an unexpected way inviting us to go there too. So here's my invitation to you for this week. Would you be willing to see and hear the fear and loss and even death around us. Now, that may seem strange for people who want to keep a positive consciousness, but it's also maintaining our humanity as our work. To feel those around us, to feel and see and hear what they're going through, to not turn a blind eye, but to turn like those retail workers, those healthcare workers, those people around us who are opening up their arms to people who need us. Send out love and miracles to them. But to also look beyond the loss and fear and death to the life ahead. That's the message of this week. Not just about the loss and the death of Jesus, but the resurrection. Can we do the same? Would you be willing to look for and see the miracles happening all around us? And would you be willing to listen inside to the acts of love that you are inspired to do and to do them, whatever that might mean for you in the week and the months to come? And I'll end with a little positive caveat or caution. As David the psalmist wrote in Psalm 121, I will lift up my eyes until the hills. I will lift up my mind unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. We're not here to do these things alone. In fact, we can't do the transformations that we want to see in the world alone. It takes a higher place, a larger help. Will you lift up your eyes and your mind and your heart to the hills from whence cometh that help? God bless.